Phil Godfrey, TETRA is now generally recognised as the leading standard for critical communications. How did it get to be where it is today?
Well, the technology was originally a European initiative to develop a digital technology that would satisfy the needs of shared commercial users. But quite quickly, the public safety users in Europe realised what was going on and said, this looks as though it's going to be right up our street. So some additional requirements were embedded into the user requirements, and the technology was developed to satisfy a variety of different types of user, including public safety.
TETRA has now become a worldwide success. Can you outline what its key strengths are?
Well, TETRA has a phenomenal amount of functionality, and I don't think many people realise just what a great job the engineers did in creating the standard. And it is that high degree of functionality that really sets it apart from other technologies and has allowed it to be used within public safety, but also by transportation, by the utilities, fuel and power organisations.
TETRA's roots are in public safety, but it's being adopted by a widening range of users around the world. Can you give some examples of how those users are making use of the features of the TETRA technology?
Well, I think it's the high degree of functionality that sets TETRA apart and makes it applicable to a wide variety of different types of user. Its ability to be customizable and configurable for a wide variety of different applications.
Can you give me some examples of how TETRA is being used outside the public safety field?
Probably a very good example is in the case of the airports. Within an airport, they like to create a group of different types of user from catering and from dispatch and all these sorts of people who are just looking at a particular flight. And TETRA's dynamic group capability allows them to build a group just to deal with that flight. And then when the flight departs, they break that group up and create a number of different groups to deal with other flights. And that sort of much more detailed level of functionality is pretty much unique to TETRA, and it's why the technology has been adopted in so many different areas.
TETRA is now quite an old technology by some standards. It's been around since 2000. Do you think it's now under threat by newer arrivals in the critical communications market?
Well, first of all, I would argue that TETRA is actually quite a young technology. If you compare it to the analog FM mobile radio market, for example, where equipment is still being sold in quite large numbers today, that technology is 50, 60 years old. So TETRA is really not an old technology. I would certainly class it as a mature technology because there's been a great deal of work has been undertaken to get to where it is today. But there's still a lot of life in it yet. There are other technologies appearing, but there is no other technology that has the functionality that TETRA has.
We're seeing a widening range of TETRA users, which is increasing manufacturing volumes, and more TETRA manufacturers are joining the market, which will be driving prices down. Do you think it's now going to find new markets as a result of that?
Well, TETRA is in 125 countries of the world. We still see that there are new markets, in particular the African, many of the emerging African states. There's a lot of work to do in India and still in the Far East. The Far East has been the fastest growing market for several years, and we expect it to continue to do so. But in addition, we've only just opened the door into North America, that's the United States and Canada, and that has a very large potential for new business. So we're confident, and actually that it has been said by one of the analysts, IMS, that they expect the TETRA market to grow quite substantially over the next few years.
In other parts of the communications world, broadband is the big thing. Do you feel that mobile broadband technologies are going to displace TETRA and other private mobile radio communications technologies?
Not in the immediate future. We certainly believe that broadband will become an important technology for the future. But it's a long way from being able to satisfy the needs of mission-critical users. At the moment, there's no group call capability. There's no direct mode or device-to-device capability. And the sorts of functionality that I mentioned earlier, it's going to be a long time before that is replicated in broadband networks. So yeah, broadband's going to be important, and that's why we've done what we've done with the association. But as I said, TETRA is going to be around for a very long time to come.